Morning, everybody. All right. Got the first slot, first thing in the morning, so I hope everyone didn't have too much alcohol last night. Had some coffee this morning. I tried to get mine, but it set off the mic, so I'll do my best here without coffee. So I am Erik Gensler. I'm the president of Capacity Interactive, and one of my favorite things is presenting to arts marketers, so I'm very happy to be here this morning. So I am first and foremost an arts marketer. This is me more than 10 years ago when I had a lot more collagen in my skin at Lincoln Center, working in the marketing department at New York City Opera, and that was an incredibly exciting time 10 years ago when digital was starting to really become a thing for arts organizations. I have a dog named Sally, and if you love adorable pit bulls, she does have Instagram. It's at Sally Wiggles. So it is followed only by arts marketers and my friends, because they're the only people who know about it. But I'm here because, like I said earlier, I'm the president of Capacity Interactive. We're a team of now 40 people based in New York City with a couple folks in Chicago. This photo's a little old, it's from last October. And we work with close to 200 arts and cultural organizations across the country: ballets, operas, theaters, museums, performing arts centers, and symphonies. And we've recently started working with a number of symphonies across the country, working on digital marketing projects. My firm is very focused on education for the sector. So we are a mission-driven organization, and one of the tenets of our mission is educating the field about the importance of digital marketing and how to market smarter using digital tools. So this is our annual digital marketing bootcamp for the arts. Has anyone heard of that? Oh, awesome. Has anyone been? No. It's a 2-day conference in New York in October, 100% focused on digital marketing for arts and cultural organizations. We have about 400 arts administrators from across the country every year come. And from that grew a program that we started called Capacity Classroom, where we do webinars and workshops all about digital marketing for arts organizations. So we have sessions in New York and around the country, and we have a lot of free webinars on topics around Google Analytics and search and SEO. And the thing I am most proud of is last year my company was ranked number 25 best place to work in New York City. And I have a humongous focus on culture and people development. And if anyone wants to geek out about that later, come talk to me about creating a great workplace culture and about the importance of developing people in order to be successful. To quote Jill Robinson, data doesn't do anything, people do everything, right? So when I talk to arts administrators, I like to pepper my conversations with real talk. And I feel like a little radical candor goes a long way. And it's great to be positively reinforced about the things you're doing really well, but I also think it's really important to point out things that we may not be doing so well. And through that is how we learn and get better and we grow. And actually, there is a podcast called Radical Candor that I highly recommend. It's a book about being a better manager. It's a book and podcast about being a better manager and being a better employee and working with a manager. Highly, highly recommend if you're into professional development. And by the end of today, I hope we can see eye to eye, which is a shameless plug for my new podcast. Earlier this year, I started an hour-long podcast series. So every 2 weeks, we release a podcast with leaders in the field. So talk to Thomas Cott, who you may know from You've Caught Mail. Jill Robinson from TRG, Jennifer Zaslow, who's my executive coach, and we release these every 2 weeks. So a lot of the information I'm going to share today, and then I'm going to stop talking about Capacity Interactive, is from this benchmark study that we put out every year. We had about 200 organizations respond this year. This is our 4th year doing this, and we ask all questions about how arts organizations are using digital tools. And so this benchmark study, which you can get by texting the word benchmark to 797979. So the 2 is the number you would normally send as a phone number, and you just put the word benchmark in there, it'll hit you back with an email, and I'll send you this full study. And throughout the presentation, you'll see that cute little CI graphic. Every time I'm referencing the benchmark study, you'll see the CI go up there. So the point of my presentation today is all about getting your digital marketing priorities straight. It is very easy to be distracted by shiny buzzwords, new channels, board members, sales reps, articles, new targeting techniques. And there is so much you can do with digital marketing, and just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. And so the point of today's presentation is to help you prioritize, to understand what's important, and help not get distracted by these things. So the priorities I'm going to talk about today are mobile, social storytelling, video, search, and digital infrastructure. Save the really fun one for last. But first, I want to talk about a concept called permission marketing, which is a term coined by the author and blogger Seth Godin. Are there any Seth fans in the house? Right? Has anyone read Permission Marketing? The book was published in 1999 and is absolutely brilliant. And what permission marketing is, well, let me take a step back before I give you the definition. We are living in the fastest and most dramatic change in communication in all of human history. The last 10 to 15 years, how human beings communicate has changed faster than any time in all of history. And for many, many years, the arts and culture were sold through, very much like this, print advertising. So if you wanted to sell a concert, you would buy a big ad in your local newspaper and you would put it next to the music and arts coverage. And the point is, you would interrupt the people who are trying to read about, concert reviews or features, right? And that's called interruption marketing, essentially. And in the last few years, we are now in a world where most information from people is consumed on these small devices. And the difference of skills, thought, budgeting, effort, expertise to communicate from that to that has fundamentally changed and requires a completely new approach to how you're marketing and positioning and communicating about your organization. We are now in a world where we are addicted to our devices. There was an article that came out in the New York Times not too long ago that said over 60% of people actually have addiction to their devices, and who's guilty of that? Who gets like twitchy if your phone is in the other room, right? It's not good, but there's been studies that show that there's dopamine and serotonin released when someone gets a like on social media or someone gets a text message. It's like the same physiological response that people have to gambling. That is the world we live in. This is a graph from eMarketer of time spent with Medium, and the axis is getting cut off here, but on the right is time with digital, and that's about 6 hours a day. On average, Americans spend 6 hours per day in front of screens staring at a screen, and then you look at the decline in print and radio, and print is far less than even 30 minutes. Quick question for the room here. Who subscribes to the daily newspaper every day? Okay, maybe about 20%. Who here has a Facebook account? Who here checked Facebook on their phone today? Who here checked Facebook on their phone before they got out of bed this morning? Yeah. Who here read the newspaper today? Right. So the question I always like to ask is, why are we marketing differently than we are behaving as individuals or behaving as consumers? And this is I've asked this question to many, many, many rooms of people, and I always get the same response. About 90 to 100% of you have Facebook accounts, and most of you are checking it every day. But when you look at allocations of budget, many organizations are completely misaligned. I'm going to say this for the first time right now, and I'm going to say it many times throughout the day. Facebook should be the #1 line item on your marketing budget, period. It is the most powerful advertising and marketing tool ever invented and is incredibly effective for arts and cultural organizations. Cut a print ad, create video and amazing social content, and we'll get back to that. So back to the idea of interruption versus permission. Interruption marketing is another a term coined by Seth Godin, which was the concept of someone is watching a TV show and they want to watch the next segment, so they have to sit through a commercial. Same thing applies with radio, where you're listening to the radio and you want to hear the next song, so you listen to the commercial interruptions. We talked about that with print already. And that built the American consumer economy of the 20th century, right? You can interrupt people because they didn't have control of the media. Well, in 1999, the same year Seth Godin's book Permission Marketing came out, The TiVo was invented. And all of a sudden, the power dynamic changed because people now had the ability to fast forward through commercials. And you saw that technology apply across all different mediums, right? So now you can pay $10 a month and have Spotify listen to any song in the world without commercial interruptions. The control is now in the hands of the consumer. So the currency you're dealing with as a marketer now is not how many people you can interrupt. It's how many people do you have the permission to talk to. That is permission marketing, sending anticipated, personal, and relevant messages to people who have raised their hand and care about you. So as an institution, you should be asking, how many people do I have the permission to talk to? So Seth Godin talks about permission marketing as turning strangers into friends, friends into customers, and customers into evangelists. Interruption advertising is trying to turn strangers into customers, right? So the first step of this is, how do you turn strangers into friends? So if you're doing any sort of interruptive advertising, in my opinion, the point of that should be getting someone to take an action where they're raising their hand, getting them to follow you on social media, getting them to join your email list, getting them to come to your website so you could put a pixel or a remarketing code or cookie on their computer so you have the ability to reach them in the future. And so evangelists, of course, are the people who are talking about your organization. That's the most valuable. So if you say, how great is our concert, come to our concert, that's one thing. It's actually 11 times more valuable if somebody says that on your behalf. And if you do a good job, you'll have more evangelists, and it's a virtuous cycle. So how does that work in the digital world? Well, first and foremost, it's about creating content. Content in the form of amazing videos, infographics, imagery, Email is content. We often forget that email is content, not just a buy now tool. So it's about investing and reallocating your budgets to create amazing content that people will love, content that people who are potential concert goers or are your biggest fans are going to get really excited about, that are going to engage with, and they're going to share. You do a good job creating content, you get people's attention. That's the currency of the modern marketing world. And then you get leads, and that's where the permission comes in. So leads is someone raising their hand, say, hey, this organization's a great content creator. I love this video. I'm going to like them on social, or I'm going to join their email list, or I'm going to go to their website. That's when you get the permission. And the question is, which organization is going to be more successful? The one with 10,000 email addresses or the one with 100,000? Of course the one with 100,000. When it comes time to sell your season or to sell a concert, if you have a larger permission base, you're going to be very successful because people trust you. You're having that introductory relationship with someone where you're giving them great content, so they're already further down the funnel. And that's where the permission-based communications and storytelling comes in. So when someone's joined you on email, it's not about sending promo codes and come to this concert and buy this and donate now. It's about telling your story in a compelling way. It's about investing in talented storytellers to create video and create content that is going to get people excited. And then ultimately, you will get a ticket sale, have a great experience, and that virtuous cycle will continue. So that was my quick bit on permission marketing, and now I want to jump into the priorities. The first is a mobile optimized website. So what I'm talking about, I heard about 4 years ago at the Testatora conference in San Francisco. Was anyone else there? Yeah. Did go to the keynote. Luke W., this awesome user experience expert, spoke, and he said for the first time the words mobile first. Mobile first was talking about how very soon there would be more mobile website visits in the world than there were on desktop visits, and that was a number of years ago, and that actually happened last summer. We are now in a world where more people access the internet through mobile devices than they do through desktop devices, so we're in a mobile first world. And this is one of Luke's slides. He said, you talked about a market penetration, and when a network is valuable, it has a 40% market penetration. And this is the time it took certain technologies to reach a 40% market penetration. Well, it took the telephone 39 years. It took the smartphone 2. So I think as marketers, as society, we're still reeling from this. We're still trying to figure out how do we change everything to, from a consumption standpoint, a consumption of media standpoint, where in 2 years, almost half of the population now has a smartphone. There are more Android devices activated on a daily basis than there are human beings born. I lost my water. All right, I don't want to go near that speaker because it made a horrible noise last time. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So what else Luke said was that radio is not TV, right? How you communicate effectively through television is very different than how you communicate effectively through radio. The web is not print. Still, arts organizations are buying digital banner ads as the same way they buy print advertisement, by buying contextual ads on a local newspaper website. I have run many of those campaigns and measured them. That is a waste of your money. Almost all the time. You should be buying behaviorally. You should be using data to target ads to people, not buying direct placements on your local newspaper website. It does not return. Mobile is not a desktop PC, right? Your mobile device is not a mini computer. It is a completely separate experience that requires completely separate thought and completely separate design. I read this recently and it blew my mind. Half of US households are on Amazon Prime. Who here has an Amazon Prime subscription? Wow, almost everybody. And think about what that means in terms of consumer expectations for how you get something through your phone, right? The second you have an inkling of wanting something, you take out that phone and in 2 clicks, you know it will arrive on your doorstep tomorrow. Now think about your mobile experience. Who here has a mobile experience where someone can buy a concert ticket to your concert in a couple easy clicks? Okay, good. Well, that's good. Since 2010, mobile commerce has grown from 2% of digital spending to 20%. My point now is to talk about how I totally think it is bunk when people say, oh, my people don't want to buy tickets on their phones. That's simply not true anymore. When we look at behavior, and I talked about a mobile-first world, this is a pull from one of our clients' Google Analytics account. Really last summer was when we started to see that we're entering that mobile-first world, or that we're in that mobile-first world where we're seeing more visits on mobile than desktop. And why that is potentially scary for marketers and arts marketers is that this, conversion rate. Conversion rate is the number of someone, in this case, purchases over number of visits. The conversion rates for e-commerce, for purchasing tickets, is far higher on desktop devices than it is on mobile devices. And this is the case of a client that had a very terrible mobile site, so it was particularly low. But there's really 2 reasons for this. One, terrible mobile experiences for purchasing. But 2, mobile is very much a research vehicle. And studies have been shown that if you don't provide a good experience on mobile, not only are you not selling tickets on your mobile, but you're not selling tickets on other channels. You're not selling tickets on desktop. You're not selling tickets with people coming up to the box office. So success on mobile drives success through other channels. Consider all the way that mobile drives value. 65% of decisions start on a mobile device and end somewhere else. So, and I've seen that number even be higher, and this is according to Google. Today's path to purchase is very complex, right? It's multi-device. You can start by looking on a mobile device. You can purchase on your desktop. You can start on a tablet, purchase on mobile, start on your desktop and purchase on a desktop. But very often, mobile is involved in that experience. So, you know, someone can see an ad for a show on mobile, browse for the show on the laptop, add the show to shopping cart on tablet, and make the final purchase on PC. About half of people indicate if it was, they would buy more if mobile, right, if the mobile experience was easier. I went to the Google Premier Partners Conference last year, and they rolled out some amazing data on site speed. 53% of mobile users abandon sites that take longer than 3 seconds to load. The expectation for mobile speed is very, very, very high. Comparing faster sites that take 5 seconds to slower sites that take 19 seconds to load, faster sites had session lengths 70% longer and bounce rates 35% lower. Mobile sites that loaded in 5 seconds earned almost double the revenue of sites that took 19 seconds to load. Now you look that Facebook has these instant articles, so when someone loads something on Facebook, it's not even going to the third-party site because Facebook realized it was slowing them down and people were leaving. So they've actually offered the ability for publishers to publish within the Facebook platform because that speed is so important. So these are some of the things I recently bought on my mobile device. This awesome chili pad. I was actually reading about, anyone know Tim Ferriss? He's an amazing blogger, podcaster. He's like very big on sleep, and as I'm approaching my 40th year, I'm realizing the value of sleep. And so this chili pad, you can put the temperature that you want your mattress to be, and it will make it that temperature. And I was sitting in Miami at a pool reading about this thing, picked up my phone, and in 3 clicks had that thing delivered to my house, and it is a awesome device, highly recommend. Paula's Choice Skincare, anybody? It's glowing complexion, you could thank Paula. Buy those on my phone, boom, boom. And the ACLU, they actually have an amazing mobile experience, so any time I'm feeling completely full of rage of the news coming out of Washington, pick up that phone and a little click, donate to ACLU in 2 clicks. It's amazing. The expectations for mobile are very, very high. My colleague bought a car on her phone. Right? There's a site called Carvana, and a couple clicks, and the car was delivered 2 days later to her house. The expectations for mobile are very, very high. So now we're going to buy some things on mobile devices, on my mobile device. The first here is a ticket on Virgin America. I was in Los Angeles, and I think this is an amazing mobile experience. It knows I'm in Los Angeles. It gives me the cities where Virgin flies to. Look how quick this thing is. The speed of this site is absolutely incredible. And buying a plane ticket is not that different than buying a theater ticket, right? It's going to happen at a certain time. There's a certain number of seats to sell. I think they do an amazing job making that experience very easy. And you see how very little instruction language here. It's very intuitive. There's lots of white space. It's super simple checkout path. Boom, now right to adding my information. That took less than 30 seconds. I interviewed on my podcast the guy who designed this thing. Fascinating. This company does amazing work, and we've actually worked with them on a number of arts websites. Now we're going to look at the new, we're going to buy a ticket to see U2 in Seattle. And U2 tickets are not cheap. Concert tickets are not cheap. So this is Ticketmaster's new mobile purchase path, which I was looking for a really good select your own seat platform. They've done it, and here we go. You see the whole stadium. Find my section, gives me the available tickets. And I love that it gives me the little map and the large map, so I have that relationship between, where we're on a zoomed in level and a larger level. Select my tickets. It's so expensive. I didn't buy them, don't worry. And within 30 seconds, I am off to adding my name. That's amazing. I know the price. It was for example purposes only. Okay, now we're going to buy a ticket on a arts website, and the Guthrie Theater is one of our clients. Their new site launched a few weeks ago. It is no longer like this, but there are still many sites that are like this. And tell me if this reminds you of what it's like to buy a ticket to your organization on mobile. I mean, this is essentially a desktop site that is loading on a mobile device. Look how slow it is. Ooh, happy talk. Look at all that text. Please click here if you're interested in learning more about our performances. Now I'm trying to click and get in there. I'm trying to click the seat map. Nothing's happening. Okay, for many people, you probably lost them at this point. They've abandoned the site, but I got in there. Now, I probably should have just started there, and now I'm trying to click those seats and trying to get something to happen, but nothing's happening. I'm zooming and pinching. Does this look familiar? Yeah. Okay, something happened. Prices came up. I still have no idea where I am. Anyway, this took me 2 minutes, and I finally did get to the checkout path, but this is why the e-commerce conversion rates on mobile are often very low, because you create an experience like that, unless someone really, really, really wants to go, they're not going to go through that. They're going to say, forget it, I'll check later on my desktop, and maybe they will, maybe they'll forget, maybe they'll send an email to themselves. This is why bad mobile experiences hurt not only mobile purchases, but desktop purchases as well. So looking at the analytics from that particular website, and this data was a couple years old, because they had us do a deep dive analytics project to understand how all of their websites were behaving, and that helped them inform the redesign. And we saw here the desktop was about half of sessions. At that time, mobile was about a third of sessions. Look at the conversion rate and look on desktop and mobile, and look at the revenue per session, right? So each incremental person on mobile is worth 6 cents. Each incremental person on desktop was worth $7. So when you design for mobile, again, it's a separate experience. You have to make it, easy for my fat thumbs, easy for this has been programmed, because the browser knows that that's an email address field, so it pulls up my name in the browser. That is special programming. That doesn't just happen automatically. Something here like using the same address for billing by clicking yes or no makes it easy for my fat thumbs, less forms to enter. 39% of arts organizations do not have a mobile-friendly ticketing path. Who here has a mobile-friendly ticketing path? Good, well, about 20% of you. When you're investing for next season, that's something I highly, highly recommend having major conversations internally about. 61% of arts organizations do not have a mobile-friendly subscription path. This is the thing that drives me crazy. I go on Facebook, I see an amazing ad for a new season. Great, I'm going to consider plopping down $500, and then you put me in a terrible path where I can barely learn about the season and can barely purchase. These are your most valuable customers. You want to invest in giving them an easy way to buy a subscription to your organization. And again, these are all from our benchmark study. 37% of arts organizations do not have a mobile-friendly select your own seat. I think that's high. I think less actually have mobile-friendly select your own seats. Arts organizations sold 55% of tickets online, so we are essentially e-commerce companies now. When you look at symphonies broken out, orchestras here, 58% of tickets are sold online. So we are e-commerce companies budgeting like very traditional old school companies. 58% of people are buying online. So, in terms of how you're allocating your digital media and your digital marketing, think about that. If that many people are buying online, I would even guarantee a much larger percentage of those people are being influenced by engagement with your brand on various social networks and across the web and across publishers and across search. Okay, I could talk about mobile all day, but we'll move on to social media. Arts organizations posting content on social networks in 2016 from our benchmark study, the majority on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and then you have that second tier. And then this is looking at posting frequency. So the darker is like organizations posting more than twice a day, and then down from there. So organizations are posting heavily on Facebook and Twitter, followed by Instagram, posting on YouTube, but just not quite as frequently. Now, I hear all the time arts organizations saying, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Pinterest. Oh, we're trying to get the millennials, so we're on Snapchat. This is one of the most important slides I'm going to show this whole presentation. Facebook is the 800-pound gorilla in the social space, dwarfing everybody else. If you are not killing it on Facebook, you should not be on any other social network. Get your social strategy down on Facebook and then worry about other platforms. Is Instagram moving quickly and growing quickly? Yes, but it is less than half of the daily active users than Facebook. Twitter is having stagnating user growth. Do not worry about Twitter if you are not killing it on Facebook, particularly with the demographics of people who buy arts and cultural tickets. Now, LinkedIn, I've heard from organizations saying, well, my group salespeople want to do a LinkedIn campaign. Really? Because when the people who are group sales buyers are in line at the grocery store, are they scrolling their LinkedIn newsfeed? No, they are on Facebook. It is all about killing it on Facebook. And then if you're doing that really, really well, the problem is we have no time, money, or resources, right? You have one person maybe who has a percentage of their time to do social media. Don't do a crap job on 5 networks. Kill it on Facebook. I promise you, it will pay you back. Facebook is prevalent across all age groups, and particularly when you look at the concert-going demographic, they are using Facebook. Now, if you're talking to a 19-year-old, they check Facebook maybe once or twice a day for like big events, and yeah, they're more on Snapchat and other social networks. We could worry about that in the future, but we got tickets to sell. And the people who are buying those tickets, they are on Facebook. Most Facebook users are on daily. 3/4 use the site each day, and this is the most staggering statistic. People spend an average of 51 minutes a day across the Facebook platforms. 51 minutes a day. So when I say you should allocate most of your media budget there, this is why. Combining usage and reach of social networks to get power. So Colleen Dillenschneider, does anyone read Know Your Own Bone? It's an awesome blog. She's keynoting our boot camp this year. She's a statistician, works for this company called Impacts Research. They do amazing research studies, and she focuses on arts and culture. The power of Facebook, because of reach and usage, is so strong. So to the Snapchat point, so I hear, oh, but the kids are on Snapchat. But actually, in reality, in terms of reach and average monthly minutes, Facebook is still killing Snapchat. Okay, so let's talk about social content. And I looked, and hopefully I covered the names of the innocent here. This is the absolute worst social post I could find for an arts organization. There is like nothing good about this. This is what it looks like when you append social to another, to a traditional strategy. We're like, oh, we're just gonna send an intern into the rehearsal room and snap a picture and then upload it and then check, we've done our social media for the day, right? And they were rewarded with 6 pity likes. No one liked this post. It's a dark room of a bunch of dudes, perhaps rehearsing. But I understand why this happens, because the rules of how you engage with people on social media often run counter to the more traditional ways of communicating that arts and cultural organizations have. And when you don't realign those rules and understand that you have to be social first, this is the kind of bad social posting you get. So this is a lot about being visual. When people hear information, they're likely to remember 10% of that information 3 days later. If there's paired with a relevant image, the retention goes up. And now I realize this is ironic. I am showing a text slide to say this point. But my point is, we are working, for example, right now with American Ballet Theater, and we are doing their social content. And this is a social post we ran for them for the countdown to tickets being on sale. But this is actually really the post we ran, and we shot in the theater, all the different positions as the countdown. That's 4th positions, 4 days until tickets go on sale. Of course, this did really well. But this took budgeting, this took time, this took thought, this took scheduling. But this campaign killed it, and they're doing so well on their social campaigns right now in terms of driving tickets to their New York engagement right now. So at Capacity, we talk about the 70-30 rule for social storytelling. 70% of your content has to be about giving, and then you earn the right to have 30% of your content about asking. This is permission marketing 101. Give, 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 ask. Give, 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 ask. Those give posts are very hard, right? It's easy to ask. It's easy to say, this particular concert is on sale, buy now. That is very easy for an arts organization to do. To do that giving piece, the 70% post, which is so fundamental to being successful, to getting people engaged with what you're doing, that is much harder. So I'm going to give you some tips and some really great 70% posts. This is Lincoln Center. Is anyone into Shark Week? Right? They photoshopped a shark, put it in the pond or the fountain at Lincoln Center. And this is a very old post, but they use it every year for Shark Week. And it's awesome. And it's like relevant, and it's in your news feed. And people are liking Lincoln Center and saying, hey, these are great content creators. I'm going to raise my hand and follow them. The Seattle Opera. It's been a long-time client. Traditional classical music, right? And had a very traditional voice. And they've really adopted to speak in a way that is relevant and connects on social media. I mean, you guys are music geeks. This is funny. Come on. No? Baklava. The Goodman Theater really sort of understands their audience, and they started doing these theater pickup lines to get, these are 70% posts. The point of these posts is just to get people engaged, just to have fun storytelling, to be relevant in the Facebook newsfeed. This is the Academy of Natural Sciences, a museum we work with in Philadelphia. He's back. It's easy, right, when you have dinosaurs. So one tip to doing good 70% content is figuring out the Venn diagram of what's going on in your world and what's going on in what's going on in the world and what's going on in your organization. It's amazing to me how on Valentine's Day I will look on social media for to arts organizations, and Valentine's Day is super easy. You can find a million ways to connect your brand with Valentine's Day. But so many organizations are not taking advantage of that opportunity to put out a 70% post that's going to get lots of engagement because you're relevant. You want to be relevant in that newsfeed. So I'm sure some of you, who's seen something like this? Yeah. That's a great 70% post for a symphony orchestra. When the New York Philharmonic, when Facebook's New Reactions came out about a year ago, they connected it to classical music terms. Amazing 70% post. 4,000 people shared that. Remember when I talked about evangelists? Someone else sharing? Sharing is such a powerful metric. 4,000 people shared this because this was such a great post. It was so relevant to what was going on in someone's Facebook newsfeed. Now, if you're a dance company, it is just much easier, right? Put someone attractive without a shirt on and tie it to summer, and you've got a great 70% post. I don't know how well that works in the orchestra world. If you're doing that well, this is the 30% post. So these are videos, and these have calls to actions of buying tickets. And this is where I say Facebook is the most powerful advertising engine in the world. This is the New Victory Theater. It's a children's theater we work with in New York. A small media investment turned into $7,000 in ticket sales for a 300% ROI. This is very common. I would say on average for the clients that we work with, for every $1 in media that we spend on Facebook, we return between $2 and $10, sometimes $20 in ticket sales. And if you're getting a 20-to-1 return, you're not investing enough because you're just getting the low-hanging fruit. This can be done at scale too. Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, a campaign last December, $34,000 in media turned into $350,000 in ticket sales for a 900% ROI. Who's investing like this in Facebook? Not one organization. Wow. So this is not done just by boosting posts. Facebook has created a tool that is very easy for the amateur just to put a piece of content up there, hit boost post, select a bunch of things and run. This is about strategic and granular targeting and optimization to different people on the marketing funnel. And so when you look here, this is Halloween at Hogwarts at the Phoenix Symphony. Pretty solid return. That concert was sold out and was only advertised on Facebook. Now, granted, I know this is not an obscure orchestra concert. This is something that is very sellable, and the ROIs can be good on those as well, but I just wanted to show this example because this campaign is not just one post hit boost. This was a multi-month campaign. Months before the concert, we floated a Facebook event. And when you float a Facebook event, if someone responds to that event or engages with that event, you can build a remarketing pool off of that behavior. So when I say remarketing, do people know what that is? Remarketing is, at the most basic level, you go to Zappos, you look at a pair of shoes, and then that shoes start following you around the internet on lots of different sites. So remarketing is a tactic of digital targeting, and so you can build remarketing pools now off of Facebook engagement. So if you float an event and someone engages with it and say 1,000 people RSVP, in the future you have the ability to follow up with them with different posts. So this begins social storytelling. So you put a piece of content out there. So we'll do campaigns. For example, we're working the Boston Pops right now, and Queen Latifah was going there. And for the first few weeks of the campaign, all we did was put out really awesome videos with the point of getting people to engage with that video or go to the website. So then when we were ready to actually sell tickets, we had thousands of people already who have raised their hand and show that they were interested. So that's the, sort of the strangers to friends piece of permission marketing, and then the friends to customers is the second piece of the campaign. But if you look here, those are multiple different targeting segments within this Facebook campaign. So that first line up there, event responders, those are people that responded to the Harry Potter event months in advance. We spent $453 in media, and we sold $11,000 of tickets to those people, right? And then there's retargeting, there's lookalike audiences, that's the top of funnel targeting method for people who look like people who have purchased or look like people who have been to your website. CRM Geek Squad, throughout the year, we know who the shows that people who are geeks would go to, like the Harry Potters or the Star Wars, and if anyone's ever gone to those pages, we're saving them in a remarketing pool, and then when we have something like this to show or sell, we will target those people. So that's up, or CRM will be uploading their email addresses to match. In Facebook, you can upload your database and target those people. Anyway, my point of this is it's not just about boosting posts, it's about strategic campaigns throughout the year that are social first. B2C marketers in North America are allocating about 1/3 of their total marketing budget on average to content marketing. Think about your organization. What do you think that number is? For most arts organizations, it's less than 5%. I went around for a while doing a presentation called Cut a Print Ad, Create a Video. I can't say that more strongly. The importance of investing in great video, not interrupting people in print or not interrupting people on TV. To this day, I hear from regional theaters who do shows without stars and new plays, and they're buying TV. And it's like spitting in the wind. You're screaming to people who just don't care, and then you have no ability to follow up with them, right? If you're doing any sort of acquisition advertising, you need to be working to get a lead. Half of arts organizations indicate that creating compelling content was a challenge. Absolutely, I totally get that. We can talk a little bit more about that, and we actually have a lot of resources to help organizations do that. But the point of this whole session was, or this whole section was, then it was about buying media. Now it's about creating content, promoting content. And I mean, you're still in a world where you have to buy media. I'm not saying you need to be 100% digital, but you definitely need to be, more than 5% digital or 10% or 20%. On average, about, through our benchmark study, about 30% of advertising budgets are now spent on digital across the 200 organizations that we got responses from. Okay, speaking of video, this is my friend Seth again. The web was built on words, and words are available to anyone who can type. They're cheap, easy to edit, and incredibly powerful when used well. And today's internet is built on video, much more difficult to create well, and far more impactful when it works. Who here is creating more than 5 videos a year for their organization? Who here is creating under 5 videos for their organization? Okay. Who's creating more than 10? All right, awesome. So online video influences behavior. Google did a study a couple of years ago where they surveyed 2,000 live event ticket buyers, people who had bought tickets to concerts and theaters, and they found some really great insights. The study is getting a little old, but they found that 45% of people think more favorably about a show, and 68% says video influences a purchase. Of course, before I'm going to plop down $50 or $100 or even more on a concert ticket, I'm going to want to know what it's like, and I'm going to go to YouTube, or I'm going to go to Facebook, or I'm going to go look for a video, or even after a concert, if I had a great experience, I'm going to go to your Facebook page or your YouTube and try to find a video of that so I can share it with my friends. And we know video drives conversions and higher average order value. There was an A/B test done, a number of A/B tests done by this company called LiveClicker, where they built product landing pages. This is not for arts, this is just in the retail space. Landing pages with video and landing pages without. And the landing pages that have video saw an increase in conversions and higher average order value, which is why now you go to Amazon and you'll be buying like, I don't know, what's like the least sexy thing in the world, like a pair of insoles for your shoes, and there'll be a video about the insoles. Why? Because they know videos increase average order value and conversions. And you need to create video. I get asked a lot, well, how long should my videos be? Or What should my videos be about? Well, depending on the objective. You need videos that are short and punchy to get people's attention on the Facebook news feed. And you also can create videos for your more engaged patrons. So the talking head of your executive director or artistic director, that is not appropriate to acquire new people on a Facebook newsfeed. That is appropriate to include in an email. That is appropriate to include in your YouTube channel. But don't think that that's going to bring new people in the door. You need to have thumb stoppers to put on social media to really engage people that are shorter and punchier. So the first one I showed was like the Goodman Theater. This is a top of funnel video. And then this was the New York City Ballet, a video about their Young Patrons program, which is awesome. It's 2 minutes long. Highly recommend it. Certainly wouldn't be that relevant to people who don't care about ballet, but for the people who have been to see a ballet to then see that, you're going to be super engaged. So I think it's about aligning appropriate KPIs to your videos and making videos for different goals throughout the institution. Does that make sense? And understanding the medium at which through which you're going to share those videos to help drive those KPIs. And I was happy in our benchmark study to learn that arts organizations are creating more video. The number of organizations reported producing 1 to 5 videos per year decreased by 27%, and the number who reported producing 6 or more increased by 11%. And so we have a reel of exemplary arts videos that we put together. We have a YouTube channel that will add them. If you do the benchmark thing I told you, we'll send you a link to this. I'll show it again at the end. But you can always go to our YouTube channel and look at our stellar marketing video. We release a new one every year at our boot camp. And it's just inspiration about great video within the sector. Okay, 2 more sections. How am I doing on time here? Okay, we're about 45 minutes in. So this is your homepage, right? The homepage of your website is not your homepage. Google is your homepage. That is how most experiences start for arts and culture organizations. It starts on Google. So how you appear on Google is so fundamentally important, both from an organic and from a paid perspective. And what I mean for that, those are the paid results, right? The top of Google is paid results, meaning this is about Google AdWords. This is about your Google grant. Who here has a Google grant? Who here doesn't know what a Google grant is? Okay. Google provides $10,000 per month in free AdWords advertising to 501c3s. Now that comes with limitations in the amount you can bid, but essentially to get on that, Google is like the new Yellow Pages. To get on the top of those search results, it's about how much you're bidding on those keywords. And it's not just about how much you're bidding, but it's how well your account is set up and how relevant Google thinks those keywords and ads are to what is on your actual website. So those paid results are really, really important. And then your organic results are important too. This requires 2 different strategies. To be high on the organic results requires an investment in search engine optimization. To be in the paid results, that's search engine marketing. So about 70% of the organizations that responded to our benchmark study have a Google grant. I've been saying this for years, and I'm really happy that more and more organizations are getting Google grants and investing in it. And the usage, so of that $10,000, how much of it you're using is a really important KPI because it's about keyword volume. So what is the volume of people searching for related terms in your market, and then what share of that volume are you getting? And we're seeing the actual amount of it being used is increasing year over year. So when you're thinking about keywords, there's your branded keywords, the name of your organization, Phoenix Symphony, right? Like Phoenix Symphony, a site that's optimized around the word Phoenix Symphony, like the Phoenix Symphony site, is going to get that branded keyword. And you need to be bidding on those branded keywords if you have a grant, because if you're not, someone else is, and you want to be in that first position. But you also want to be in non-branded keywords because there's oftentimes multiple different visits to a site before a purchase. So the first search could be like, things to do in Detroit, all the way down to, Harry Potter concert tickets. So you need to have coverage throughout that marketing funnel. So almost 100% of non-branded keywords come from ads in the top slot. So it's really important to be on the top of those searches. for many searches, there are 4 ads above organic results. So here's a search for modern dance shows. I was in New York, and if I wasn't, if our clients like Alvin Ailey there or Gibney Dance weren't in those top slots, they wouldn't even, get any play. And the first organic listing there is from Time Out New York. In a mobile environment, it's even more important to be in the paid results. On mobile, 4 ads can show above organic results, but often only 2 show before the scrolling. So being in that top place is very, very important. 77% of people using a search engine in their research end up buying tickets to a performance. So search is a massive indicator of intent. If you have a good search strategy, it's important because if someone's searching, they're buying. And Google did another study about retailers. The likelihood of someone to visit a store after doing a relevant search was very, very high. And the category of theater and tickets, which is what you guys fall into, is growing. There's 11% growth in queries across devices in the theater and theater tickets category, which is very much being driven by mobile searches. 89% of clicks are incremental to organic clicks. So a lot of times I get asked, well, if we don't have the paid results, we just rely on our organic listings, will that be fine? Well, there's been a lot of studies done where they've paused paid listings to see how that impacts it, and 89% of clicks were lost. Unfortunately, you know why Google is giving away everything for free? They're giving away Gmail for free, they're giving away Google Analytics for free, search is free. It's because if it's free, you're the product. Right? So they now have all your information, they know what you're into, and they know all of your behavior, and they can turn around and provide people like me the ability to target people, and marketers the ability to target people based on that information. And so really, with the majority of visits to your site starting on Google, you're sort of in a situation where you have to play by their rules, which, we could talk about ethics later, but that's the state of the world right now. And so when I talk about having coverage across the marketing funnel, this is a search for family activities in Seattle. You want to have coverage there. Middle of funnel, theater in Seattle. So now someone sort of knows what they're looking for, down to a Raisin in the Sun tickets. And you have to have unique ads for all of that. So if someone's searching for a Raisin in the Sun tickets, you don't want to show an ad that says theater in Seattle or Seattle Repertory Theater. You need to have a very granular build out of search so you have coverage, and you want your keywords to match your ads. The more your ads match your keywords, match your landing page, the more successful you'll be. And search plays a role in conversion as an assist vehicle. So this is the top paths to conversion. And like I said, people are often coming back multiple times, and search is playing a role in that. One metric that marketers don't know a lot about is search impression share. This is throughout your account, the percentage of keywords. So of your account, of the keywords in your account, percentage of time they're being shown. And you want that number to be higher, but usually with a grant account, it's around a 10 to 20%. That means 80% of the time or 90% of the time, your ads are not being shown because of the $2 maximum bid allowed through a Google grant. So I think if you have performances that have high revenue goals, like holiday performances, for example, you want to make sure you're supplementing that Google grant with paid AdWords. And you don't have to spend a lot of money in that media, but you want to be able to be competitive on top terms, particularly if you're in a market where there's a lot of ticket brokers, or if you have, something where there's a high revenue goal. And so search is not only about how much you bid, it's about relevance, and it's about the setup of the account. And so having a good search engine optimization, meaning making sure your pages are labeled strategically, making sure your images are tagged, making sure the content of your site, that you're updating your site regularly. These are all clues to Google about what your site is about, how relevant it is, and you can be really strategic about it. So if your whole site, for example, the Phoenix Symphony, if every single thing on their site is only about Phoenix Symphony, if the H1 tag is named Phoenix Symphony, if all the images are named Phoenix Symphony, all that Google knows that your site is about Phoenix Symphony. So you want to put keywords in there that could be a little broader. So if you're going to have a page about family concerts, make sure the page is named family concerts. Make sure the images are about family concerts. Make sure you're writing about family concerts. And another really really big key for SEO is how many relevant sites or how many sites are linking to you. And circular links are really important. So if you get a review from a local daily, you want to link back to them as well, because the circular link provides legitimacy to Google that shows you're like a legit site, because that's the best way for them to know like what's a legit site and what's not. It's how many people are linking to them. So if you get a review, link back to the site that's giving it to you. So the last piece here is about digital infrastructure. To be a successful digital marketer, you have to invest in your digital infrastructure. So if you want to, say, show a specific social post to someone who abandons their cart on your site, or target all single ticket buyers from last year when subscriptions go on sale, or measure the return of these efforts down to the product level, we recommend using a tool called Google Tag Manager. Who here has Google Tag Manager on their site? Okay, so Google Tag Manager, back in the day, you wanted to run a digital marketing campaign, you would get code and you would have to add that to a landing page of your site. You'd have to get IT involved, and it would be really complex because they would have to go into the code base and manually add that. Then you'd have to test it and it would be wrong, and then you have to call IT again, and 3 weeks had passed and your campaign's almost over. So Google built a tag management system that allows you to have tags on your site. Well, let me show you visually. Christopher Williams, who's the vice president of capacity, says Google Tag Manager is like a purse for your pixels. And it allows you to easily add or remove tags. So your Facebook tag could be like your sunglasses, and your Google Analytics tag is like the wallet, and your Google AdWords tag is like the lipstick. And a marketer can easily add or remove those in an online interface that makes it much easier to run your digital marketing campaigns. But this infrastructure is so important. People will say, well, why can't I do site abandonment campaigns? It's because you don't have the infrastructure down. So any sort of digital thing you want to do that's really cool and targeted requires an investment in setting up the infrastructure of your website. Most of the things that are happening on about your brand on the web are not happening on your website. They're happening on Facebook. They're happening on publisher sites. They're happening on search. You need to be able to connect those platforms to your website so you can tie the behavior that happens off of your site to behavior that happens on your site. And that's what Google Tag Manager does. So about 57% of arts organizations are using tag management programs. And I like to say a good Google Analytics implementation is a gateway drug to becoming a digital marketing fiend. When I first saw a good Google Analytics implementation, when I was able to see, oh my God, someone who watches this video is worth $3 more than someone who doesn't watch the video, or someone who comes from this Facebook campaign is worth this, or all of these things tying the e-commerce to website behavior is super fascinating. Who here has e-commerce set up on their website, on their Google Analytics? Okay, I think this is really, really fundamental. Now, Google Analytics is often confused. Google Analytics is a way to understand user behavior on your website. It is not a way to track your digital advertising campaigns, because most of the behavior that's happening on the web is not happening on your website. It's happening on these other platforms. So if someone watches a video of yours on Facebook, Google Analytics is not going to know that unless they click directly from that video to your website. Google Analytics only tracks clickstream behavior. But if someone's viewing something, it's not going to be tracked on Google Analytics. Google Analytics is an amazing way to understand website behavior, and you need to use it to understand website behavior. Only 8% of arts organizations felt they were using web analytics to their potential. Now, I realize it's really confusing, and about half had the e-commerce, so the question I asked earlier. There are 4 primary methods for tracking behavior in Google Analytics. The most basic is the page view tracking tag, high value, low effort. So page view tracking tag is what your web developer is just going to plop on the website. So that allows you to understand who went from where, what page did they go to. But to really understand the granular interactions and behavior that are happening on Google Analytics, you need to have a far more custom implementation. So event tracking is high effort. So event tracking is when someone watches a video or when someone scrolls down a page. You can track all of that. It just requires a little bit of customization. E-commerce integration, again, understanding that the dollar piece of it, really high value, but does not come out of the box with Google Analytics. Analytics tells a story about user behavior on your website. It is not the place to track the success of your digital campaign. So this can be overwhelming, right? This is 64,000 lines of data. How are you supposed to make any sense of that? So I want to give you an example of Google Analytics used well. We talked about the homepage. Well, many of us think as arts organizations that people are coming from the homepage to the homepage of our website, looking at the scroller, trying to figure out what they buy, then going to the calendar listing, and then picking a show, then going to an event detail page. Well, in reality, that's not happening. People are deep linking into your website, generally driven by email or driven by search or driven by social campaigns. And using Google Analytics, you could actually figure that out. You can look at the entry pages, and you can say, if you aggregate your performance detail page, the majority of people are coming in on the performance detail page. So this is a pull from the Google Analytics at Seattle Opera. And we use this information to help them redesign their site with the reality, looking at the reality that user behavior is this way. People are coming into the performance detail page, so let's design the performance detail page to do all the heavy lifting of a home page because no one's going to their home page. Who here had a website redesign recently? Who here spent a lot of time thinking about what that home page is going to look like, right? A lot of people just aren't going to your home page. They're deep linking in the performance detail page. So this is their performance detail page on their new site, and it looks a lot like a home page. It has that really big image at the beginning. It has cross-promotion of ways to save. This is very multimedia, and it has these big pictures, this photo scroller that would look like a homepage photo scroller, because they know that people are just coming here, and once they're coming here, they're getting the information and they're leaving. The average user goes to 1.7 pages of a website. If they don't find what they're looking for, they leave and they go to Google and they search again. Cross-promoting. You don't want your production detail pages to be dead ends. You want to give people, if someone doesn't want to see Hansel and Gretel, let them see what else is coming out of the season, acting, again, very much like a homepage. That was exhausting. Talking a lot. So get your priorities in order. I would say the one thing I didn't talk about here was email. We could do a whole session on email. Obviously, it's very important, but getting your priorities in order. Mobile, social storytelling, video, search, digital infrastructure. If you want more, you can text benchmark again to 797-979. 797-979 is the number. So you text the word benchmark. This is confusing to some people. I apologize. But I'll send you that digital marketing benchmark report. I'll send you the SE video on search engine marketing, the reel of our favorite arts marketing videos of 2016, and more resources. We recently created a social content calendar for arts marketers, which, the challenge of 70% content. When's Tchaikovsky's birthday? When is all these different ways that you can storytell on Facebook or on social media better? We give you a calendar for 4 months to help do that. We recently created this really fun CTA generator, so you make your calls to actions better. So it's really fun. You press there and you can, all these different CTAs, and we're updating that regularly. And if you're on our email list, you will get our blog post, our benchmark study, podcast episodes, capacity classroom workshops and webinars, information about our boot camp. Our email is very much of the 70-30 philosophy. 70% is just giving you resources, and occasionally we'll invite you to stuff. So I showed this last slide. This was me at Google at that conference I mentioned. I was in California, but I was actually at Machu Picchu because I was experiencing this amazing Google daydream. And I put this slide up here to say, we are living in a world that is changing very quickly, and we are very much at the tip of the iceberg. And change is hard, and adopting to being digital first is a huge human challenge, but I say that because the pace of innovation is only going to keep going, and it's only going to go faster. And the organizations that are going to survive this and thrive in this are first open to change and innovation. So I hope this talk inspired you to think about that for your organization, and I really appreciate your time. Sure. I have some time for questions.
We only have one mic, so we only have a couple of minutes, but if anybody wants to step up, raise a hand. Nobody? Boy, you must have been a comprehensive presentation. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to say I can just yell it out.
Okay.
I have a question in regard to you were discussing Facebook being the #1. What are your thoughts and feelings on, I know that you can link Facebook and Twitter accounts and have I know
I feel very strongly that that is the wrong thing to do. Because they're different platforms and they require a completely different thought and they require a completely different positioning. And if you're doing it that way, people are smart. They can tell who is a credible content creator and who is not a credible content creator. And if you look at you have to craft these posts. You have to size the image correctly. You have to write in the right links. You don't want to use hashtags on Facebook, with very rare exception. So all of these platforms have completely different ways of communicating. And if you're cross-linking them, it just shows that you don't understand that, and people are going to see that and they're not going to engage with you at the same level. Good question.
Which is huge, which is 30% on the website. So I'm wondering if you have any information.
70% of your patrons are purchasing by phone. Yeah. That's very high. I would say one cool thing you could do when someone is purchasing by phone is say, do you have an email address that I can send you your receipt to? And so you're making sure, even if they're purchasing by phone, that you're capturing their email address so you can communicate with them digitally. Now, I wonder if that many people are purchasing by phone, is it very hard to purchase on your website? That seems like an extraordinarily out of line number from what I've heard of phone purchases. I don't know why it's so high. I don't know the size of your organization or enough about your organization, but I mean, the room, that seems really, really high.
Is it?
I would say it's usually like, God, a quarter or less. But yeah, I mean, I think if you do have that, like, you may want to look at, is your website, is it particularly hard to purchase? Could you make an incentive for someone to purchase online? I just imagine that's a lot of manpower and cost, and people are expensive. So that to me just seems a little misaligned. Oh, it's right there. Yeah. Okay. Hey, thank you so much. Does anyone have any more questions? Yeah.
Do you have data around the age breakdown on this? So in other words, what I'm confronted with is a lot of folks are telling me, well, our audience is older. They're
Sure.
not using Facebook.
Sure. I mean, I showed that one slide of, the 65 plus audience. I think it was like 60-some% on Facebook. That is the fastest growing audience segment. But I mean, you really look at the core sweet spot of Facebook Facebook users, it's people's in their 40s and 50s, and then 60s is growing. I mean, I do get that a lot. You can look at the analytics of your Facebook to see what the age breakdown is. I also always recommend audience surveys. Asking your audience, what social networks do you use? Where are you getting your arts information, to really understand that? And for example, we've done that with clients before, and we'll see that, okay, audience members are on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but then we find the ones that are on Twitter and Instagram are also on Facebook, which then allowed us to say we're really going to focus on Facebook. So I think the really best thing to do is do some audience surveying, but we've not found that as a big barrier, because a lot of the older audiences are going more and more on Facebook, to see their grandkids. My partner's grandmother, who's 90 years old, is on there. My God, my parents are on there, and it's horrifying. Because they'll like everything. Okay. Yeah.
To kind of piggyback on that question, we're a youth orchestra, and so all of our primary constituents, our kids, our students, are on Instagram, and it was Twitter, but now it's more Instagram. And Facebook for us is kind of like mom book, actually, like you said. And so, we're reaching different people there. I guess I'm curious to know, going even on the lower on the list, if you will, to Snapchat, have you had any sort of work with arts
Yeah. So if it's a youth orchestra, again, this is more geared towards not youth orchestras. So I would say, well, the Instagram advertising platform is powered by Facebook's advertising platform. So all the power of the Facebook targeting is in Instagram. And you can curate stories in Instagram. The lift to curate stories on Snapchat is not normally something I would recommend to create content for Snapchat. If you're a youth orchestra, certainly happy to, that's something you may want to think about. But I would say an Instagram focus makes a lot of sense, and using the ad platform through Facebook on Instagram makes a lot of sense. Snapchat has amazing like geofencing capabilities. Is anyone using the geofencing for Snapchat? So you can build filters. So if someone's going to post something on Snapchat, they'll take a picture or a video, and before they post it, they can scroll and have overlays. And as a organization, you can purchase those overlays where you can design a really cool overlay. So if you're doing a concert and people are coming there and they tend to be younger, having a Snapchat filter is a way for an organization to say, hey, we care about young audiences, we care about millennials, and it's an amazing evangelist tool. It's an amazing way to let the people who use that Snapchat filter tell their friends that they're coming and engaging with you. So I highly recommend the filters and buying the geofencing. It's not very expensive. So for example, I could buy my concert hall for maybe $10 a night, where you do buy the geofence, and anyone who's posting from Snapchat there has the ability to layer on that filter. I think that's not a bad idea for you guys. Sir?
You mentioned something about not just boosting on Facebook. How many different ways are there to spend money on advertising on Facebook?
A lot. So boosting, boosting's better than doing nothing. Boosting is a scattershot way. It's not, you want to be as granular as possible, and you want to be as strategic as possible. And Facebook allows you to target people at all levels in the marketing funnel. So a lot of times I see organizations making the mistake of saying, okay, we're a symphony in Detroit, and we want, I'm not saying I'm not saying you're doing that, but just for the example's sake, would say, okay, we want to reach everyone who likes classical music within 25 miles of Detroit. We have a budget of $50, go. And it's very easy to just scattershot put an ad in front of anyone who Facebook determines likes classical music in Detroit. But that is a very top of funnel post. And if you're just reaching those people, A, what is the goal for that? And B, you'd probably be better served being much more granular about that. Like, for example, you'd want to reach college-educated women in certain zip codes who have a propensity for classical music, and you spend a portion of your money on that. But then you'd also want to set up a remarketing code, so if anyone engages with that content, you've gotten them down a little further, so then they're going to get posts at more frequency that may be more about a specific page they visited or a specific piece of content that they engaged with. So by boosting, yeah, it's going to get a message in front of a bunch of people, but those may not be the best people or the necessarily the right people. My point is, you want to push whoever in charge of this to be very granular and strategic in making sure you're getting the right content to the right people. And then there's all these different tools that allow you to target. I think as organizations and arts organizations, we spend way too much money on acquisition and not enough money on speaking our tried and true. And so there's a lot of really cool tools on Facebook, like remarketing, or being able to target your CRM list, or targeting your fans with content that's more relevant to them based on their past behavior. And that's not necessarily something you can do through boosting posts. That requires using the Facebook Ads Manager or the Power Editor. So look, boosting is better than nothing, but you're just really dipping your toe in the capabilities of a very, very powerful platform.
Depending on the number of tickets you have to sell to an event, is there a formula that you use, like you should spend a certain amount of dollars per ticket?
Well, I mean, you really want to be strategic and thoughtful and plan far in advance. So like that Phoenix Symphony concert that I showed, working months in advance and backing into what is your content arc and your content plan. The size of your house is, of course, very important. And also figuring out, like, we work with a lot of symphonies. A symphony is more like a pack. It's not like a regional theater. It's like a pack. You have a ton of one-night-only performances, and you have a very limited man and women power. So you have to focus strategically on what you're going to invest your time and money on, and how you're going to reach a lot of different people. And so we find that if you're like American Ballet Theater, for example, that's a very large campaign we're running right now. And there is a direct correlation between how much money we're spending and what our wraps are for the day. So absolutely there is a formula. It's a complex formula, and you have to, it's sort of trial and error, but like figuring out the timing and looking at how far in advance you're selling and what your goals are from your strategy. And I didn't talk about display ads. I think display ads are a great support for social, but I think social is where the storytelling happens, and display ads support that. So remarketing and reminding people across the web wherever they are. But guess what? No one shares a display ad. No one's going to the newspaper website to see a display ad. It is a reminder. And so it can really support a social campaign, but it needs to be driven by social first.
Forgive the stupid question. I'm in artistic and not in marketing, but what is your sense of trends in sort of critical mass for what saturation levels are on Facebook? When is it too much? I would think that this, the 70-30 concept is really inspiring and would tend to maybe just get into a saturation point of storytelling to traverse that funnel.
Yeah.
Do you see that trend, those trends sort of flattening? Do you see that, or trends changing what that saturation point is?
Meaning the quantity of posts per day or week or whatever. I mean, I would say you should only post in as much as you have good content. And for some organizations, if that's 3 times a week, or some organizations it's every day, I see a lot of organizations feeling a lot of pressure that we have to post 2 things a week or a day. And then they end up posting really bad things. And so I would rather see you do something really great, maybe once or twice a week, than post multiple times a day. And so it's about, do you have the resources to have great photography or really great video? And then also with the, if you're advertising and you're promoting, you can spread that frequency out. It's not driven, if you put a piece of content out there organically and it doesn't hit, it's gonna die. And so you can try to sort of push that up with promotion, but if it's not a good piece of content, that's going to be really expensive. So it's much more strategically smart, in my mind, is to focus on 1, 2, or 3 really great pieces of content per week that really tell your story. Granted, there's a lot of factors that go into this. What are you selling if you have 7 concerts to sell a week? And you can experiment with lots of different formats like slideshows and videos, slideshow ads that can showcase different things you're selling. I think the point is quality over quantity, always. All right, well, thank you very much. I'll be here all afternoon if you want to have any direct questions, but I really appreciate it.